And we are live. Do we have any spiritual thoughts this week?
Every time you ask, I always forget the one that I had set aside.
I don't this week.
I don't necessarily think these are applicable to the case, but it doesn't say it has to be applicable to the case. Did you guys, by any chance, either of you guys get to watch the broadcast yesterday?
Broadcast for what?
There was a teaching. It was done by the church. It was like teaching in the Savior's way sort of thing. It was hosted by Elder Holland. And so it was like essentially for all auxiliary leaderships and teachers. And so anyway, I thought it was pretty neat. I got to watch it. And I was highly, go figure, I was highly impressed by Elder Holland and his ability to just reference everything to scriptures. It was amazing because it's just like, you have a question, here's your answer. It's right here in the scriptures. This is nothing crazy. It's nothing like profound. It's right here. And so with that being said, I just for me, it was a testimony builder of the scriptures and how we can constantly turn to the scriptures for the answers we need to our questions we come upon from our day-to-day lives. So pretty simple.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I forgot I was supposed to go to that broadcast yesterday.
Well, I believe it is recorded, so you can still watch it.
It is. Yeah. No, I'd forgotten about it. I had a marathon I was doing yesterday with my cousin. So
wait, you ran a marathon yesterday?
Actually, my cousin does these ultra marathons, so it was 100 miles.
Oof.
He did it in 24 hours, 50 minutes. And after they hit the 50-mile mark, they're allowed to have pacers. And so I've never done more than a half marathon. I've been trying to get fit, so I started doing these. They beat the crud out of me, but because I'm still 30 pounds heavier than I should be. But anyway, so he asked if I'd pace, and so I went and I took my son with me, and I paced him for about 10 miles last night. I started at 11 p.m. last night and went to 1 a.m. So yeah, then he finished at about 5. Awesome. He finished at about 5, and then we went to his house and crashed, and I actually woke up about 1 p.m. this afternoon. So it's been a rough day, and I'm hurting.
Oh man! So, well, that's awesome. Makes me feel
anyways, back to
lazy.
Well, that's impressive.
Yes, I agree. I know that one thing in my as far as the spiritual thought, in my patriarchal blessing, it talks about how if I'll study this, I'll succeed. Can't remember the words exactly, but that my success in academics is in relation to regular scripture study. And I've noticed that I lean on that actually, because I'll get out of the habit and miss a day or two here, and then when I started feeling frustrated with my homework and not understanding, not having the clarity and stuff, I'll actually stop and grab the scriptures and read and catch up, and then I find that things kind of come in line. The Spirit kind of talks to me through it and sorts out the mess that is in my brain and stuff. So the answers are definitely there in the scriptures, and they can be a great help.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay. All right, so it says review the summary data from the negotiation results. Which team had the highest pre-money value, the lowest pre-money value, and then where did your team fall? I don't understand the last question, but
I'm thinking that there's that survey on his original email that we were supposed to take, where we would say, well, this is how much I'm looking for, this is how much I'm willing to give up, this is what I'm looking for in my partners or the board members. And I think it was all supposed to be compiled and sent to us so we could compare where we came in with the rest of the class. Because, that's the only way we'd have that information, is if he had sent us something more in regards to that. So I kind of think we have to disregard that.
So we were supposed to do that, or he was supposed to send that to us?
There was in the emails, the weekly emails at the beginning of last week. He sent an email, and in that email, anyways, the one I got because I'm supposed to role play for Maxwell. There were three different links to click on, and one of them was a pre-discussion survey. It was one of those. What's the Q? I can't remember what the Q surveys are. What the heck the name is? Quantaphonics or whatever the heck it is. Anyways, Qualtronics. Anyways, so it comes out. There's a survey. It's what's your team number? How much capital do you want to raise for DuPage in this round? From DuPage in this round. What's post-money value you're targeting? What size option pool are you targeting? What board composition are you targeting? How many board seats will be filled by MuMate co-founders? How many board seats will be filled by independent directors? So please specify any other terms that you are targeting. And then it says if you cannot reach an agreement with DuPage, which funding alternative will you select? And it lists angel investors and asset-based lenders, and then the two other VCs that we were supposedly talking to, Astoria Partners and Prosper Fund. Gotcha. So we sent that, and I was expecting that we'd get results back by tonight, but I never heard anything else. So I'm assuming that's where that question came into play.
It is, and I totally did not scroll down far enough to see this link. I see it now where we were supposed to fill it in, submit it, then you were supposed to respond to it. That's why I don't think you ever got it.
Okay.
So.
Well, I figured it was a whole class because it asked us to compare to classmates.
Yeah.
So I am not a fan of these negotiations.
Nope.
Sadly, though, it's a part of business that I do not enjoy.
Hey, that's my question. Sorry, this is unrelated. Michael, what do you do for business? I was talking to my wife the other day about you guys, and I was like, I think Michael has his own business. Sorry, it's unrelated.
I own a construction company. We've got I just lost one employee tonight. He texted me and said he was quitting, but I've got 17 employees, and we do carpentry, so frame houses, restaurants, things like that, and then also we do general contracting, where we try to stay in our niches with the high-end stuff. We try to really keep a quality team so that we can, instead of actually going out and bidding and competing, we actually do negotiated work where this is our hourly rate. You tell us what you want us to do, and we'll supply the labor.
Good for you. And you started that yourself?
Yeah. I got my contractor's license when I was 25, and so I've been doing this now for ever.
Good for you. That's awesome.
17 years. I started in 2000, so we're at 17 years now. But
nice. That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah, but not as far along as I'd like to be in life. So that's why I'm going back to school and time to figure out something that's a little bit more advantageous.
Well, good for you. All right. So should we just move on to the second question then?
Yeah, I guess that's fine. Well, here's a question then. I guess I'm going to ask some questions in between, and we'll kind of go with it because I think those are going to fall into place. Michael, what was your pre-money value for your company, did you feel?
My pre-money value for my company, it's kind of foggy. Coming up with the numbers is kind of foggy because if you base it, it gives you, in the case study, where is it? They give you Exhibit 7, and it shows out what your value to last 12 months sales were. And then it also gives you value to last 12 months earnings before interest and taxes. So if you look at what sales were last year, they were at 987,000, I believe, 978,000. Dyslexia setting in. And you look at the average at 1.4, we're barely, we're getting like $1.5 million, which isn't going to help this business. That after you go and the VC goes and lends money against that, it's not enough money to do where we plan on growing. So I kind of look to where 2012 is projected to go, which shows them having gross sales of 8 million. And then going the 1.4 off of that, it's putting it at about 11 million. But like I said, that's not last 12 months sales. That is next 12 month sales. So I figure there's a discount in there. I mean, obviously the VCs will recognize the potential of the company because they're willing to invest in it, but I don't think they're willing to be that generous. So I was looking at it to be right around 10 million, where I was thinking.
Okay.
That was for your pre-money evaluation. Was $10 million?
No, that would be post money.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's post money. Yeah, that's post money. If you look at it, Exhibit 7, based on what acquisitions and stuff are running at.
Okay, sorry. That makes more sense. I had asked pre-money. So that's where I was like, what?
Sorry.
Okay.
That's post money. That's post money. So then by the time you go and take your guys' offers, they're out. We're running between pre-money's running between 7 and 8 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For my post money analysis, I got right around 10 million as well. Pretty much doing the exact same thing. But as for pre-money, what did everyone get? I got $2 million for pre-money. I did that by one of the charts on the bottom. It says that there was 997,000 in cash flow, and then doing the market research for all the other companies and how they were doing. That's how I came to that $2 million evaluation, or for pre-money. I'm just curious what everyone else got for the pre-money valuation.
Well, I was a bit informal with mine. I based my pre-money off of the investment sales. So I was kind of going around the 5 million pre-money because of going with about 35%, give or take, for the new investment. So, if that was 35%, what would be about 65%? And so I was closer to like the 5 million range.
Okay.
So,
if on my other sheet, the confidential for Maxwell, it actually gives me the formula for pre-money and post-money. So like it's the money raised plus your money that's pre-money equals your post-money. So I think there might be some confusion in the formulas. So like Tyler, you had said that you gave it a post-money value of 10 million.
Yes.
And then you were offering 2 million as part of your loan.
Yeah.
The difference of that is 8 million. So 8 million would be your pre-money. That's the value you were given to the company
Gotcha. Sorry.
pre investment. Okay, so you'd have been at 8 million on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, this whole thing's kind of confusing to me a little bit.
Yeah.
But
is that reversing or what? Can you guys see? I guess it reverses it out. But yeah. So yeah, it's money raised plus pre-money equals post money.
Gotcha. Alrighty. Okay, so as for the goals, what we're trying to do, so we want to figure out an investment that's going to help both MuMate and DuPage Ventures. It's going to benefit both of us, and we want to do something that's fair for both of us for Series Round A.
Yes.
With us, we don't want to invest. Well, at least this was my take. We don't want to invest too much because the more that we invest, the more equity we'll have to take. And you guys being a startup company, we want to work with you guys, and we don't want put you guys in a bad spot or take too much away from you. So we want to meet somewhere in the middle. Like the evaluation I told you, that's at the $2 million evaluation. That's what came from the previous cash flow from 2015, that $997,000 with the market research. And then I propose that we, the equity that we take here at DuPage is 35%. That was what I came up with.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry,
Ben,
I'm trying
you're good.
to crunch my numbers right now as well.
All right, there it is. Okay, so the case study takes place in the 2011 year. You're working on your 2012 as far as if you look at your financials and everything else as a forecast. So this taking place in April of 2012, if you look at the MuMate case study on page 4, it says in April 2012, after estimating incremental sales from new partners, Maxwell and Dank prepared final projections for MuMate through 2015. So basically they're looking out 4 years. The projections showed that the company required about $2.5 million of additional investment before achieving cash flow break even. So $2 million is throwing a drop at it. We would still end up short in money to carry us through with the growth projections that are projected by going after Costco and these other companies. So what we're looking at is a minimum $2.5 million to keep us going. But to be honest, and that's why, and then also looking in some the other VC offers, we're more inclined to reach for the $3 million just to achieve some security. Gives us a little bit more flexibility, and in that $3 million, breaking it up in 2 series. So maybe $2 million in the first series and $1 million in the second series.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking of. Maybe $2 million at the beginning. The reason why, just because MuMate is a startup company, just wanting to make sure that this isn't just a fad that's going on in the West. So with that $2 million, we would still be giving you enough to be able to fill your inventory and invest in marketing and advertising operations. But just that it is a startup company, not like you said, not putting it all in at one time, but breaking it up into 2 different payments. And if you guys were to, everything just started to drop quickly, then you guys could go into that Series B investment. I feel like I'm kind of all over the place a little bit, but that was just my thought process. Just it being a startup company, there are risks, and like looking at all the competitors, there's Naked and let's look at them, because like all these other companies that we're seeing who bottom out.
Okay, let me try and do this real quick. If I understand this correctly, if I've done it correctly, we'll find out. I'm going to do a screen share real quick so I can show you my table and we can evaluate if it's correct or not. All right, click on this. It's a mess. Don't worry, I'll clean it up. Can you guys see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, So here's where if we go with a pre-money value of about five million, and if we do 3 million one time up front, for our sake, this gives us 37.5% ownership. If we split this up to where we do 2 million, like you had suggested, Michael, and then we do 1 million later, I'm assuming that down the road our pre-money has doubled. This is, I feel, a fair assessment. That would mean an additional million later leaves us with a little bit less equity. With these proposed numbers, I think we'd probably be okay. This does keep us within our range of where we like to try to be, and it leaves you with a little bit more equity as opposed to up here. You guys following that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I did my calculations correctly, this is what I'm coming up with. My concern is if you break it into Series A and Series B financing, is there going to be a venture capitalist number 2?
I wouldn't see why, because the 3 million is actually over and above the needs that we actually project. Projections show us at 2.5 million through 2015, but we're going for 3 million just to be secure.
Okay.
So I don't know why that would be an issue. And I mean, it would be written up in the contract, so it would be that you guys would be the VC we go to. And, we still haven't gotten to it yet, but you guys would actually have seats on the board. We still need to negotiate that, but it would be your decision. I mean, you guys would be part of the decision if we did go out to look for other venture capital. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Do you know how to do a strike through on here?
Find out real quick. Strike.
I did it once before, and now I can't remember.
I would say probably insert.
So you select the text that you wish to strike through. While your mouse is over the selected text, right click and cells. From the pop-up menu, when the format cells appear, select the font tab. Okay, that's not very helpful. Oh yeah, when you select the font tab, then under effects you can click strike through. I feel like there's a lot faster way to do that.
I'm sure there is.
So what are you doing? You're right clicking and what?
Shortcut. There you go. Control Shift F.
Control Shift.
Control F. Or Control 1 that will display the font tab.
Holy cow. You had it up in that last box there to the left. It said effects and strike through, and there was a box you could check.
On mine?
Yeah, not that box, but the box that you had come up after this one. Whatever you did.
Hey.
Oh, Control
Ben,
1.
Sorry.
There you are.
Try
now
pushing.
Here. It says effects right underneath the fonts. Strike through right there.
Hey, try pushing.
Okay, you're good.
I'll try first. Control 5. Hey, just a much faster way is just Control 5.
Thank you. I'll remember that next time. Okay. No, that's good then. That at least calms us down too, because we don't. If we had to pursue a Series B, we wanted to be the first option. So if we know that we're providing enough capital to eliminate a second competitor, then that comforts our needs as well. So, right. Okay, so if we agree on the numbers pretty well, let's go back to some of these questions. All right. It says, choose a student from our side, Tyler and mine. What are your goals for the negotiation value of X, the IRR, which we kind of shared these. board seats. I don't. Tyler, do you remember seeing? Are we desiring a board seat?
Yes.
I remember seeing somewhere. I need to go through. I'm looking right now, but I remember them even saying that they didn't want Taylor. They wanted to exclude Taylor from MuMate's board because we weren't sure that. Oh gosh, one sec. But my opinion with that, it's because what was she doing? Is Taylor a guy or girl? I don't know. But my personal opinion was to keep Taylor on the board, to keep the two founders on. But I also think that we should have from DuPage that we at least have two of our own on the board. I said three. That way that way it's not always 50-50, that we have to have, the tiebreaker. But as for what it said is that they were considering excluding Taylor from the board because Taylor was the product inventor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas Maxwell wants Taylor on the board. She feels that it's her. She was the one that created it. Has been a major part of it. That she deserves to be on that board. I don't mind. You guys, I originally thought, and what I looked at from the other VCs that offered, they only asked to have one of their persons on the board, and they said that they could have, that we could also appoint an outsider to be on the board. So that would create 4 votes between Maxwell. What's the other girl's name? Maxwell.
Taylor.
The founder. What's her name?
Sarah.
Yeah, what's her last name? Because I keep referring to her.
Isn't it Maxwell? Is her last name?
Maxwell, and what's the other one? Taylor.
Taylor.
Yeah. So Taylor's the one that invented the drink. Maxwell's the business degree person. So, so one of the VCs proposed the same thing as you guys know, Taylor. The other one is allowing Taylor, Maxwell, and they want to have somebody on the board and then a founder. So that would make 4. More inclined to do that. I really can't see not having Taylor on the board since she's a 50% partner. I think that would create conflicts within the head. But like I said, they only, the other VCs only asked for 1. I would be open to having 2 board members from Cantor on, or from DPV on, if that would be the case. So I guess that would, and then 1 outsider. So that would bring us to a total of 5 board members. Does that sound acceptable?
Yeah, to me that does.
That sounds reasonable.
Okay. So 5 board members. Okay. And then the other thing, I don't understand why it's in the terms sheets from the other VCs and why it's in, I don't understand it, but we need to discuss the option pool for the, the stock options are going to be set aside to give to other employees. Do you guys have anything about that in your paperwork?
I don't recognize it.
I have not seen it, and I just read through this again.
Okay. Hey, back. Anyway, yeah. So we got to decide on that.
Well, I think that is out of our hands, because if you offer that, that's coming out of your equity share.
Yeah, and that was my thing. It says on these other ones, it says option pool 17.5% of fully diluted shares after round closes. So I don't know if they're talking, and this is what the other VCs are asking for. Fully diluted shares would be of all shares. I don't understand that, really. So I'm kind of gray on that. I was thinking just 10% out of the owner's shares, like you guys are thinking that would come out of the owner's shares. So I was thinking 10% in options. I'm fine with that. I would imagine that would end up pretty close to the 17.5% of the fully diluted shares the other VC wanted. So just put down 10% then if you guys have nothing to negotiate on that. We'll just take 10% out of the owner's shares.
Yeah, so that's an additional 5% from each owner then. So
exactly.
Each owner, what, 30% now?
Going back on our original agreement, so you went we're going to do $2 million in the first round. And that's based upon $8 million, right? So that's giving us pre-value of $6 million, new investment of $2 million, and that gives us a post value of $8 million. Am I correct?
I gave you a pre-value of $5 million.
Of $5 million? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hang on one second.
So that comes to 71%, 0.4, and 28.6%.
That seems a little low for equity, I would think. Because at least in our option, it said that we need to be between 25 and 40. So.
Okay, so here's something else too. Something we're looking at from our side is from a single round financing or from a series A financing more so. We do not want to be more than a $6 million post value. So with that being said, and I can share my screen again.
Okay. So then we should be at a $4 million pre-value then.
I do show you at a $4 million, but if we do a 2 series, I think this will work out for you. Let me pull this up.
And let me click over to you.
I'm always trying to remember how to screen share. Okay. Okay, you see that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we did single round, 3 million with a 6 million post value, that would only give you guys a 3 million. This would result in a 50-50 split. You would then lose some from your option pool.
Yep.
Whereas if we
yep.
Right. Whereas on the flip side, which I mean, we like this because it gives us more ownership. However, we are understanding this is greater than what we want, though. So that being said, if we did a 6 million value offering 2 million, this gives you a 4 million pre-value, which is 2/3 to you. Again, assuming double everything for a second round, adding 1 million. $13 million pre-value. This leaves you with 61%, which is actually, I believe, a little bit higher than it was before.
Yeah.
I did this. It says download.
You're in class, bud. Okay. You need to go talk to mommy. All right. Shut the door, please. He found a new app on the phone he wants.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think that's fine.
Okay.
I think that is coming up fine. You know, I'll probably need to go through on my spreadsheet at least. I don't know if you guys want to, but on the founders shares, we'll probably want to split out the 10% up at the Series A for the options, so that's reflecting that percentage of it for as employee owned. Okay. I'm going to do that on my table. I'm not saying you guys have to, but I'm just saying I'm going to do that on mine.
Okay.
I'm just making. All right.
Next. All right. And let me pull up our questions again. I think that's about all that we're negotiating. Tyler, there's a question for us. Like, how do we feel about this deal? Is this a once in a lifetime opportunity? Is it a pretty good deal, or is it something we can pass on? I think it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it says, at least from our side, it's one that we definitely want to do because, where does it say? But yes, gosh. Personally joined. It says here, we like MuMate a lot, and we think, oh gosh, no. Anyways, I don't know if it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, but it's definitely one that we really want.
Right. Well, I know it does still present the risks, like the 1 in 3, 1 in 4. So there's still risk involved. I just think they come across as pretty good. Rarely do I ever see a once in a lifetime opportunity. So with that being said, I don't think this is one of those. There are plenty of other companies in this market. But based on how well they're doing is why I feel that they are a pretty good option, and we do want to negotiate well enough to try and secure the deal. So,
yeah, I'm looking at, if we went off total revenues, or 2011, or if you go total revenue in 2011, you're only at 978,000, and like I said, you go to that multiplier of 1.4 on the value to last 12 months in sales for your sales multiplier. If you went to sell the company, you guys know what I'm talking about?
yeah.
Okay, so if you do that, let me grab my calculator here. I'm just trying to show you guys what the value is where Cantor's probably, or not Cantor, but DPV is probably looking to on the payoff. So right now, if you're at 978,000 times the 1.4 median, which is low, that's saying, we're only really technically at about a $1.3 million value if we were to go to the market and sell right now. But if you look at it 2015,
but again,
your total revenue,
sorry, that is saying on the low end, the 1.4, right?
1.4 it says is median. If you look at Exhibit 7, down at the very bottom, if you look at the column value loan to LTM sales,
okay,
it's giving a 1.4 as the average. And then you see that you can see that Dietrich Coffee was bought out by Green Mountain for 4.8 multiple, and Izzy Beverages was bought out by Pepsi Company for 3.8. So just going off the average, because in some of them, if you go at Fresco Holdings was bought out at 0.6, but just sticking with that 1.4 multiplier.
Okay.
Going with that, and then projecting out to the 50 million in sales that's coming by 2015, if we run the company right and everything else, times your 1.4, your multiplier is $70 million. So what I'm saying is DPV now has after Series B, you have a 38.5% value of 70 million if we were to sell the company. So you just made what? Made $30 million on a $3 million investment.
Gotcha.
In 4 years. So, yeah, to me it sounds like a pretty dang good deal if I was looking at it from DPV's thing.
No, it sounds good.
And since you're negotiating, I would assume that you believe Maxwell's numbers are correct on the projection. So, anyways, just pointing that out.
Okay. This question is directed to you, Michael.
Okay.
How did the Astoria and Prosper term sheet affect your negotiation strategy? What are the pros and cons of Astoria, Prosper, and seeking capital from angels?
Well, because I'm new at this and naive, they had offered some things that I wasn't even thinking of to ask for. So that was one thing. It also gave me an idea of where the market would be. And it actually says within my sheet that the little helper that she hired, I can't remember the name of the guy that she hired to work, what was from Cornell or whatever. Anyways, how he talked about it, these both these offers are in line, and this one offer is a little bit better than you normally expect from this company, but all in all, these numbers are looking pretty good. So they gave me a ballpark to know what the price should be, where it should expect. So, and then like I said, when Tyler's offer came across, and it was well below what was in the sheet, what was being offered by the other two. So it was, it made it quick, easy negotiation to say no because it was so far out from what was already on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And then, Tyler, this is directed towards us. How did the venture capitalists go about valuing MuMate's, or just valuating MuMate? What exit value were they expecting?
I'm going to let you start that one because I'm afraid to even say.
No, it's okay.
No, talk away.
Here.
If I remember right, the whole time the goal is for the 25 to 40% is where they want to be at. So with that being said, if we did $3 million to have that, then sales would need to go up, I believe, to like 15 million or something. Which, if MuMate was correct, and in 3 years they're looking at 50 million, we're definitely going to be within our 5 to 10 times our goal of what we're looking for. And if I understand correctly, those are the numbers I saw.
Mm-hmm. When I hear that, I just think about, this being a startup company, and I'm not saying that the numbers are false at all, like the forecasting, but I feel like startups almost always exaggerate growth. That was one of my big hiccups with it, starting with the real big investment. So that's trying to keep it within like the happy medium between the 25 and 40%. That's where I was coming up with the 35%.
Did you guys agree with my Excel sheets from what you could see?
Yeah, I thought your sheets were fine.
Okay.
Look clean and good to me.
We're just supposed to talk about it, and I already shared it, so I think that handles the next part. What have you learned about bargaining tactics? Should MuMate disclose that they have other offers? Do hardball tactics make sense in a negotiation like this?
Well, one thing that I'm noticing, it's not bad to say, I think it's not bad to say that you have other offers, because guess what? Like, if we really are interested in MuMate and we hear that they have other, venture capitalists who are interested in their business, I think that's a good thing. It's kind of like if you're interviewing for a position at a job and another company wants you at the same time, I don't think it's bad to say, hey, you guys are my first option. You guys are who I want to go with. But, I do have this. I don't know. I don't think it's a bad thing personally to bring up that you have other offers, because who knows, if you really want them, maybe you'll up your offer, show how bad you want to work with them. That's my opinion. It doesn't have to be right, but that's just what I think.
I'm going to agree with you, Tyler. From our standpoint, we agreed that we want to bargain, or we want this deal with MuMate. So because we're the ones wanting it, I think we need to be flexible,
Mm-hmm.
And so with that being said, I agree. I think it's fair for MuMate to share it, because then that might cause us to alter our numbers a bit, because we definitely want to make this our deal. With that being said, too, I'm not here to play hardball. I feel it's fair. I think it's equal opportunity just by being fair and honest. So where it's like, hey, here's where we're at. Here's where we want to be. If you're okay with this, great. And if you're not, then we might have to look elsewhere. But nonetheless, here's where we are. Here's what we want. Here's where you're at. Here's what you want. And that's what's made this as easy as it has been.
Yeah. Have you guys have watched Shark Tank? Have you ever seen whenever someone comes in and everyone's kind of on the fence a little bit, maybe, and then some investors are like, hey, like, they start making him an offer, and then Mark Cuban, who really, really wants him, is like, just throws out a ridiculous offer because they're like, he just shows how much he wants to work with them, how much he. That's kind of how I think with this. I don't think it's ever bad to. I don't know. I think it just shows that they're more valuable.
What do you think, Michael?
I am big, especially as I've gotten older in life, I am big on honesty. And within honesty, I include transparency. And I think to have a good, productive negotiations and to make them go as quickly as possible without misintentions, misunderstandings, I think you want to present as much information to the other party as possible. And so I think disclosing that you've negotiated with other people, that you have other offers, I think it reflects good on you as the CEO, because it's not, you're doing your due diligence. I don't want to go in partners with a CEO that just grabs the first thing that comes at him, or doesn't even do the legwork to go get some other offers to kind of find out where the market is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then I also think it establishes a baseline. So, the more you communicate, if you're communicating well and you're saying, hey, I already got these other two offers, like you guys understand that, hey, he's got two other offers. There is some demand there. We need to lean more towards being a little bit more aggressive to make sure that we secure it, and things like that. So I think it makes negotiations go better.
Okay. All right. Do you guys have our case discussion questions in front of you at all?
Let me pull them up.
Yeah, I just pulled them up.
There's the very last thing. It says discuss key takeaways. Terms allocate economic and control rights. Conflicting priorities of investors and entrepreneurs in upside downside scenarios. Terms have a price. VC valuation techniques. Okay, I think I understand this to a degree. To kind of just throw it out there, tell me if you agree. Terms allocate economic and control rights. So this is like, we'll give you more or less ownership based on the number of board members we allow or don't allow. Conflicting priorities. I think this would be a matter of who's in charge of making decisions, which it didn't. I mean, it sounds like we both want to be, if we're going to be as much of a partner as we are, we both want to have a say. Whereas but I think, again, we're understanding, like, this is how much of a say we get. And then going back to the economic control rights, yes, that gives it an opportunity to negotiate a price for additional terms. And then the last part of the venture capitalist valuation techniques, I'm not sure about that one. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking that this is more of a statement, this whole number 7, because there's no question marks on any of these things. So the number 7 is discuss the key takeaways, what we're getting out of this. So in VC valuation techniques, what we got out of this case study is we saw how looking at the average in the industry, look at the other sales, get a median of what the values were, what the multipliers were, and so it helps you in negotiating and finding out what the value of this company should be and where it's going. That's the value technique that I got out of this.
Okay. Sounds good. What do you propose is our I assume we're supposed to still have a summary at the end?
I would say we give a summary at the end, get a timestamp. I know he doesn't want to watch these whole things. So sure. I would just do a recap of what we negotiated out as our terms.
Michael, do you mind doing that this week?
Sure, that would be fine. You can go ahead and let's look at our timestamp and see what we got.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so on the MuMate case in negotiations, Maxwell has negotiated and come up with the following terms with DPV. We are going to go ahead and do a 2-series round. The first series would be $2 million in investment by DPV which is going to give the company a pre-value of $4 million and a post-value of $6 million. That gives the percentage of ownership basically a 2/3 split to MuMate and a third to the venture capital firm DPV. When it comes time to do the round 2 Series B, we assume that the values have doubled. Founders pre-values at $8 million, DPV's pre-values at $4 million, giving a total value to the company of $12 million. And then we will do. Then DPV will go ahead and include another $1 million of investment. That will give the post value of $13 million to MuMate, and that is going to divide the shares up as 61.5% to MuMate, to the founders. Out of that would be 10% going in options to employees. 38.5% would be to DPV, and that would do that. That's how the shares will be split up. As far as for the board members, we will do the 2 founders on the board, 1 outside board member to be decided upon by MuMate, and the 2 board members from DPV. Is how that would split up. And I believe that is everything that was to be discussed. Voting shares of divisions. Is there anything else to add to that, guys?
I think that's it.
That sounds good to me.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stop the broadcast.